here we go. Here we go. What's up with y'all? What's up with y'all, man? Illuminati was trying to stop me, man. They was trying to stop me, man. It's 50 y'all in here. Hit that like button. I was having mic issues, all kinds of stuff before it was time to get down and get started. But it's Friday night, man. What's up with y'all, Moxy Mob? Hit that like button. Got a special one here for y'all today. Y'all by request. Oh, now you telling me my touch portal don't work? You can't do this without the sound effects. Yeah, they trying to shadow ban a nigga. But we just hit. Hold on, let me see if I can get it going. Here we go. Yeah. There we go. They tried shadow banning a nigga, but we just hit 13,000.
My channel bigger than y'all, bitch.
Yeah. Hit that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I got a special one for y'all today. You already see that title. Hold on, man. I was rushing back from New York. It started raining and shit. I got all wet. I had to take a shower, all that, man. Behind schedule. Whoa. But here we are. Thanking the Most High for another day. Let me go ahead and get set up. I'm trying to get my other screen set up. Yep, there we go. Let me see who I got. Let me see who I got in the comment section. I already knew you was gonna show up, John Illuminati. He said, right up my alley. Yeah, Carol, nice to see you again. Big Hen, what's up? Yeah, my channel
bigger than y'all, bitch.
My channel bigger than y'all, bitch. I like how he want to say the bit. My channel bigger than y'all, bitch. Shout out to Tommy Sotomayor, Chief Fella. Yeah, man, I don't be wanting nobody to get their page taken and nothing like that. Matter of fact, before I'm gonna warm it up. I'm like I don't know, some of y'all that's in the comedy, man. Sometimes I'll be feeling like shows like this. I'm like a opener, you know what I mean? Because it ain't about me today. It's about, you know what I mean? I got a guest today. So it's gonna be about him and his questions, but I feel like I gotta warm up the crowd real quick. Let me turn a little bit of music on. I should have had this already, but let me go get it. I can go get it. Hit that like button while you at it. Let's get more people in here. This is a special celebration. Well, it's a special one, man. I like these kind of topics. Hold on one second. There we go. Yeah, I like these kind of topics. And I figure a lot of y'all probably like these kind of topics too. Y'all hear? Matter of fact, yeah, there we go. You need to guess in the background. Hold on, it's already hot in here. I always do that. Yeah, that sounds better, don't it? Let me go through a couple of these comments. First, let me open up these. The Illuminati. Y'all hit that like button. Boss Cap 1, what's up with you? Black Light Revelations, what's up with you? Oh, we about to cook up in here today. Bumper with Hands team, don't get no accidents. Southern Gotti, what's up? Prolific TV. Adriana Report. Lady T. Yeah.
Hey, niggas get shot every day.
That was the wrong one.
Oh my gosh, he's talking about Mexico.
What's going on? All right. So what we talking about today? Oh, real life over internet life. You know what? I haven't had a chance to listen to his album yet. I've heard a lot of things, but I heard he wilding out on there. B-Jack, hey, yo, I appreciate you, man. We love new subs over here. We love Moxy Mob, the ones that been here, and we love new subs. Appreciate you, man. Drew League, what's up? He said, well, we started freestyle. What that freestyle like? I used to be good at freestyling. I ain't drunk enough yet. I'll freestyle for you one day. I see Big Hen really into that hip hop like me, man. I appreciate you. I'm gonna definitely freestyle one day. So, all right, let's get this shit going. What we talking about? Man, we talking about that Illuminati stuff. All right, go ahead and now me. I don't know about you, but this is a topic I've always been interested in. I've been approached by this group many times in my life. A couple times. I didn't say many times. A couple times. Most of my dealings was on the West Coast. All right. So I've had my own little experience. So let me start this off. All right. Matter of fact, let me put that as one of the questions. Stephen Smith, man. What's up with you? Thank you for the super chat. Now, many times in my life, I've a couple times, a couple times in my life, I've had the opportunity to run into some Freemasons. I've had my own experience with Freemasons. Let me start this off by saying right away, you know what I mean? I am not no Freemason. All right. I'm not dogging it out either. I don't, I've heard some things. This guy I'm about to bring on, I talked to him on the phone many times. We came across each other on YouTube, and we pretty much been hollering at each other ever since. I would like to consider him a friend. We have not met yet, but I have talked to him on the phone as a friend, and I'm very appreciative of him coming on this stream. But we have not talked about this. All right, I'm gonna treat this. I was gonna do a friend or foe on this, but nah, I'm just gonna make it another collab experience. So y'all gonna be learning as long as myself. All right, not a stingy nigga. All right. What do I mean by that? Yeah, no, you're right. I hear y'all. So I'm not a stingy nigga. All right, meaning that I'm gonna ask him some questions that I want to know. Then after that, I'm gonna open up the call lines, and y'all can ask questions respectfully. If you're mad at that Tommy Sotomayor shit, I ain't got time for you today. I ain't got time for you today. I always be doing smoke streams. I'm gonna have to turn these little texts off, man. Let me turn these texts off, or at least stop the. Yeah, but anyways, matter of fact, let me go down there now and turn that off. Well, all my shit being how do you mute this motherfucker? Preferences. Yeah, there we go. That was easy. So it's 91 of y'all in here. Just create some time to get more people in here. If y'all hit that like button, we'll get more people in here. We're gonna start in a minute anyway. But back to the Freemasonry. Me being in Hollywood, I've had a lot of experiences meeting them, but this ain't about me. Maybe in the middle of this at some point, I'll tell some of my stories about what the Freemasons I have run across. I actually have a brother that I don't really talk to that much. Not because he's a Freemason, which he is, but yeah, he was, I guess the best way of putting it was an asshole. Come on now, some of y'all got some assholes in y'all family too. I've lost a lot of respect for this particular brother, but it ain't because of the Freemasonry stuff. I don't know. I don't even think he was a Freemason. It's just an older brother. Some of y'all know some of my stories, but yeah, I was a certain kind of kid. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is all my brothers have a different father than me, and they did not like my father, so they took a lot of stuff out on me. Now, the brothers that's around my age, you know, a lot of them have already apologized. And you know, I accept apologies and stuff like that. It took me a while to get over a lot of stuff, but I enjoy being myself. And when you keep hold grudges, it has a weight on you. This particular brother, I don't talk to him anymore because not only was he the worst at fucking me up just because I had a different father, but he was in his 30s. He was about a good 16 years older than me when he did all of this. And I look at it like you was a grown man at that point. Like pretty much abusing the teenager. And his apology was whatever you mad at, I'm apologize for whatever got you going. Nigga, shut the fuck up. That ain't no apology. You still a grown-ass man and don't know how to apologize. Now I'm at the age where I just don't have no respect for him. I could care less for an apology now, to be honest with y'all. You get to a point where it's like, you know what? Like, we too old. You had years to apologize. Now you damn near in your 50s and you still don't know how to apologize. I have no respect for you. But just got that out of the way. But like I said, I'm going to allow y'all to come on here and ask some questions about Freemasonry after I ask him some questions. It's a lot of questions I've had about it. I know it's two different groups. We're going to get into that. So while you're watching right now, hey, put your questions down on the sheet of paper. All right. And like I said, I'm going to let y'all come up here respectfully. This is not a smoke stream. Y'all know I'm about that smoke. I have a guest on here today. All right. So we not, you know, I don't let people disrespect my guests. I don't bring guests up here to be disrespected. We don't do that.
My channel bigger than y'all, bitch.
All right. So you can come up here, just have some respect. And we're gonna get into it. I think might as well what they say? What's that term they say? Without further ado. Ain't that what they say? Is that what they say? Without further ado? There you go. He nodded. Yeah. Without further ado. No, see, look, we already do it. Look, let me mention it one more time. I am not a Freemason. All right. Not a Freemason. Okay. But without further ado. Wait a minute. I thought I already had it. Okay. Without further ado. Here we have. We woke now. What's going on with you? Got to unmute yourself.
Want to say peace and blessings. My brother Moxy, want to say peace and blessings. Appreciate you having me on doing this collab tonight. Really appreciate all that you're doing, the work that you're putting in.
I appreciate you too, man. But hold on, I got to protect myself real quick. Give me a second. You know, for all the tinfoil hat cats. Let me go ahead and let me put the tinfoil on. Let me go ahead. All right, now we ready. Got my tinfoil hat on, so we ain't got nothing gonna happen. You know what I mean? All right. So yeah. So let's start off. First of all, hold on. Should I add this? As a matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's do this before we're gonna stop and start the same way. Here we go. 1 second. Here y'all go right here just to show y'all his YouTube page. Here we go right here. Yeah, you done moved up, man. He was right around where we were, Moxy Mob, beginning of this year. He done moved up to 21,000. You know, I spoke with him through this journey, so congratulations. You got monetized now. But this is his page. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're gonna go back to that. So just to make sure I got the tinfoil on, the tinfoil hat. All right. So, what would you define? Let's just start with the basics for some people that don't know. What would you define as the Freemasons? As that term or group or corporation? What would you define it as if you give your own
Well,
definition?
even though I'll cover some of that within the presentation, but in a nutshell, Freemasonry is a fraternity. You cannot get around it. It's a fraternity. Many will try to separate it, like if you have Prince Hall, the Blue House, and that's when you get into all that other stuff, you know. But it's still the same. You know, many will say, "Hey, well, Prince Hall is this type of Freemasonry," and then you have the Mother Lodge, which is over in Britain. It's all still pushing the same doctrine, the same how can I put it, initiations and pledges. You know, it's the same, no matter how we look at it. But it's I call it a religion, even though many would say it's not a religion. But Freemasonry is a religion that you don't have to say that you believe in the Most High, long as you believe that there's another deity, right? And I'm going to share some light on that letter G that many people would think that, especially those that are young into Freemasonry, you know, they think that letter G stands for geometry, but I'm going to show you that's not the truth. That's not the case, you know. And before we get into it, I got some sources here that I want to go into, right? This is, you know, when I was a Freemason, I went in when I was overseas. Big difference being initiated overseas versus going through in the States. But when I was in online for my 32nd degree, these are some of the sources that I'm putting it up on the screen, right? You know, these are some of the sources. Can you see that? Encyclopedia Freemasonry. So I'm not one of those that's just talking about it, but I could give you sources that will cost money to purchase.
Damn. You ain't about to get me killed, is you?
Like, not at all. No, not at all. So again, these are some of the books that I had to purchase when I was overseas and study in preparation. You know, but as I got into it and went deeper, and even this right here, some key information, that's where I decided to make that transition.
Sorry about that. That was the wrong button. Sorry about that.
So again, many will try to say that there's a difference. No, there's not a difference. You know, and I'm going to show you who wrote most of the initiations that you see today. Even though many will try to say that, hey, you know what? Again, Prince Hall is different. No, they're the same. This guy right here, I'm gonna put this book up on the screen. His name is The Life is Levy, right? His understudy was Albert Pike, who wrote over 90% of that handbook, right? So, and The Life is Levy is the one that created and designed what is called the Baphomet.
Oh wow! All right, yeah. See, I was trying to look at my phone. Yeah, get these likes up, y'all. Get these likes up. We starting off on fire.
Here's another one.
On fire.
Here, I got plenty of sources, but I'm just showing you a few here that you'll spend a little money for, right? So, but like I said, I have other sources I could pull up here, but I didn't want to just go into all of that, right? And let me turn it this way. Let me see if you can see it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot of, you know, these are some of the things that I acquired when I was on line, so to speak, going through my process of going to the 32nd, you know. And once I began to really get into that, I you know, it was like, you know what, I walked away from that completely. So no matter what many would try to say, it's still the same. You know, Prince Hall, all of that is still the same. Prince Hall came from up under that. Prince Hall.
I mean, I have a lot of questions. You answering some of these questions already. But let's start off from the top. Let's start off from the top.
Sure.
How did you find out about the Masons? Like, let's go back to you becoming like what were you doing? Were you just serving in the military? You said you were overseas. Did somebody come up to you, and how was it introduced to you?
Well, many of my family members are Freemasons, and I have a lot of pastors and elders that have started churches, started ministries, are Freemasons and Eastern Stars. So they would have their functions, you know, their bingo games. They have all kinds of functions, you know, and that they would sponsor. So I knew about that just from being around them in my family, right? But when I was overseas, and what many people don't know, that every military installation has a lodge on it, right? And so when I was overseas, right, that's when I went on and crossed that line, what they call riding the goat.
So
So
hold on. You saying are you saying across seas, or even here in this
even
country?
here in this country,
Every military base has a lodge on the base?
absolutely. If it's not directly on the base, it's right outside the base, but
Wow.
they many of them meet on base.
Wow.
So I
did
got
not know
introduced
that.
to that when I was overseas. And like I said, you know, there was some, you know, they were really pushing me to, you know, become you know, I'm not going to get into all that, but a worshipful master. And it really was pushing me for that, you know, and, you know, my father, he really broke a lot of that stuff down even before I even had an interest in even just seeing what it's all about firsthand, you know. And like I said, no matter how many would try to spin uh, Freemasonry, you can't spin it to make it into a good thing for our people.
I got you. All right. So did someone walk up to you and ask you, like, would you like to be a Freemason, or you ran to that, or ran to
Well,
them and not going forward?
they were approaching me because you know, I've always been knowledgeable, right? Very knowledgeable of history. And, you know, I was just engaging in conversation. I didn't know one of them was a Mason. And he was saying some things, and I actually corrected him on a few things. And so that's when he said, "Hey, you know, have you thought about becoming a Freemason? You'll make a great Freemason because of your knowledge base, and you can do a lot of help and good in pushing, and you know, becoming a leader within it." And right, and so I gave him all my reservations, because even in college, I was approached to pledge and all those things, which I refused to pledge when I was in college, right? But over there, they you know, I got the invitation. Initially, I turned it down, but then they said literally, you know, to me that, you know what, you can't knock it unless you were part of it, right? And I was like, okay, let me join it, right? And so went through the initiation. So basically, in a nutshell, I got introduced to it by other soldiers.
Okay, that's a good segue for my next question. What was your initiation for the Freemasons?
Well, I can't get it, you know, I'm not going to get into details about that, but let's just say this is, you know, I understand the terms of riding a goat, right? So part of that initiation is what is called riding the goat. Uh, so of course you have to go through learning your pledges for each level. So each level, for example, you have the first level, right? Right. You have what is it? You have the fellowcraft. No, fellowcraft is the second level. You have the wait a minute. Now I'm trying to think of it now. It's been a while since I've been over 20 years. Uh you have the fellowcraft, which is the second level. Enter apprentice, that's it. The enter apprentice is the first level, right? You have you know, a small initiation process for that. You learn a few things, you learn a few signs and things along that line. And then from your enter apprentice, you go to what is called a fellowcraft, right? Then you learn some words, some handshakes along with that, the 5 points of fellowship, or contact rather. And then from there, you go into a third degree, which is a master mason. So you do each one of them in phases. It's not that you do all of them at one time. So once you go from an enter apprentice, then from an enter apprentice, you go from that to a fellowcraft, and then from a fellowcraft, you go to a third degree mason.
Okay, so You said just a little while ago that you can't tell us about your initiation.
Well,
why?
just out of
behind that. What is the
well,
reason
just out of respect, you know what I mean.
Is it okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, just out of respect, you know what I mean. I could talk about. I don't have a problem with talking about it, but I just didn't want to go into the details of it because I don't want to sound like I'm sensationalizing it either. So, but yeah, in a nutshell, you do go through some processes of how to sit in a seat, how you sit on your square. You go through what is called catechisms and things along that line. You learn about the different points of the lodge. You start learning about what is called the chessboard and things along that line. So, but during the initiation phase, you just go through that. Each level has an initiation phase and things that you have to learn and recite for each one of those phases.
Okay, so all right, this is a lot. All right, so from so you just not tell us about the initiation because of respect level, not because of they can kill you.
Nah, not because they could kill me, but just didn't want to get into that portion of it. Far as the actual, what do they do with the initiation, far as some of the processes. But I will say, when you go to that third degree, when you're making that transition, that's what they refer to as riding the goat. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like I said, it just didn't want to go into that area of it because of just respecting that aspect of it in terms of didn't want to just get into all of that other stuff.
So all right, you got a lot of questions. It sounds like you have to do something for each degree, correct?
Absolutely.
And when you get another degree, what is it that they give you? Is it like, what is it when you gain another degree? Let's say I'm going from the third degree to the fourth degree. Once I get to that fourth degree, once I complete whatever task they have me to complete, when I get that extra degree, what is given for that extra degree?
Well, when you start off, right, when you start off with it, enter as an enter apprentice. I can't speak for the what's going on, what happens in the States, but overseas, you're given a rough stone, right? And they call it a rough ashlar. Basically that's representing that, you're rough around the edges, so to speak. Right. And then also each degree, you get a handshake, and you get a word that you learn how to greet each other at that degree. Right. So by the time you make it to the third degree, because it's not an overall ceremony like how it is with the third degree, because that's a major crossover right there. But once you go from a third degree, then I know overseas you can go from a third degree to the 32nd, even though you're doing the other degrees in increments, part of the process, but 32nd. And so even overseas, you couldn't just, I couldn't be a 33rd degree, right? I couldn't do that. But yeah, there is levels to it. There are certain pledges that you have to take for each one. There's handshakes, again, as somebody has it on the screen. There's handshakes that you have to share. And King Solomon is a major part of it, as far as the reference to King Solomon in terms of the temple. And you'll see certain terms like Hiram Abiff and those type of terms. So some of these things you can look up and get it online, so not all of this is actually how can I put it? Secret, a mystery. A lot of this information people can gather just by doing thorough research on it.
So let me ask you this. This is a lot. All right. I've heard a lot about Solomon, the most wise man of all to live. He disappointed God because he started worshiping other gods. So from what we're talking about now, is it safe to say that one of those gods or the other god that Solomon started to worship was the devil?
Well, he worshiped a plethora of deities when you read First Kings, right? And it made it clear that he married so many women, right? And that the scripture tells you that they led him away to worshiping their deities, right? He began to worship, I can't remember all the names of them, off the top of my head, but literally he began to worship and follow the ways of the people, that the women that he married. He began to worship them. He began to all the symbols and all those different things. He began to just like King Ahab began to erect temples or bringing things inside the temple. He was leading people astray because of that. So yeah, he worshiped a number of different deities. He worshiped all because of the women that he married led him into it, the warnings that he was given, but he disregarded.
So, okay, this is a lot. So you're saying a lot of this Freemasonry knowledge is started with Solomon. It goes that far back. Did you hear me?
Repeat that again. Repeat that again. It seemed like you kind of froze on my end.
A lot of this knowledge is started off with Solomon.
Well, this is what, from Freemasons' perspective, this is what they really will point to King Solomon. You know, they'll point to certain things like Shakespeare, and you know that he was a Freemason, and you know finding his name in the Bible. You know, it's certain things that they would teach and put a Masonic spin on. You know what I mean? But yeah, King Solomon, that's who they make reference to. Also, the St. John's, the Holy St. John's. You know, that's a whole nother discussion right there. The two pillars that you see in a lot of images that you see, like you'll see two pillars and you'll see the square and the or the compass in the center with the letter G hovering. So you're dealing with the two St. John's right there. You know, so. But yeah, it's so many layers to it. But King Solomon is the foundation to what they build a lot of their rituals off of.
Now, like I told you, I have a brother who's a Freemason, and I know it's different because one thing I found is when I ran into some Freemasons on the West Coast, their process was totally different than down south. When my brother was telling me about the stuff that they had going on, and but my brother, maybe not for his initiation, but part of, I guess it is part of initiation. Part of one of the qualifications for him to become a Freemason is he had to do a lot of volunteering. Did you have to do some of the same?
Yeah, Freemasonry right across the board, they have volunteer work, but overseas, you know, we had to go to church, right? You had to go to church. You had to participate in the church. You wore your, of course, when we would facilitate or be the officers of the church for one particular Sunday, you know, and we'll have on our aprons and so forth. So yeah, we were required to go to church over there, you know, and some of that is depending on what lodge you're part of, and you know, some of the requirements in terms of when you start dealing with volunteer work. But yeah, we had to do volunteer work over there.
All right. Someone wants to know, is Freemasonry a high form of witchcraft?
For me, I believe so. One thing you will know that, and like going back to my point that I made, is that you don't have to believe in the Most High. You know, Yahweh, some would say Yahweh, some would say Yahuwah. You don't have to believe in him. You don't have to believe in the Messiah. You can be a Muslim, right? You can be a worshiper of Satan.
Yeah, right? I heard they make you, well, I don't know. All right, I have a lot of questions. How do they treat religion in this?
Again, it's not a big deal. You have to believe in a higher power, right? And again, it depends on what lodge you're at as well. That makes a world of a difference too, because you have some lodges that may say one thing, like, and I can show you some examples of with Albert Pike, right, to the public. He'll say they were programmed to say that we believe in God, but he say instead of believing in God, they would say we believe in a God, right? And when you understand the Greek language, right, and you understand Hebrew, right, this is where you have what is called each language. Those languages have what is called definite articles, right?
Right.
Definite article is like when I say Moxy is my friend, right? Moxy is my brother. That's definite. But if I say Moxy is a friend, you see how it makes it generic? You see how it brings ambiguity into my expression for you, right? So
Yes.
that's similar to when you put a as a prefix, I believe in a God. And most people won't catch on to that because it sounds like you still saying that what? You believe in the Most High. So they will program many that didn't truly believe in the Most High of the Scriptures, the Holy Text, to saying they believe in a God. And when they say they believe in a God, they're referring to Lucifer. And so when you see this influence even on religion, like the Jehovah Witnesses, and I will cover a little bit of that tonight. Jehovah Witnesses in their Bible, John 1:1, right? It says in the beginning, in their translation of it, New World Translation, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was a God, right? So they inserted what is called an indefinite article, right, to make the text ambiguous, give a generic universal expression to it, to make it into the Messiah being a demigod. Now you get into Gnosticism, right? So but there's no indefinite articles in the Greek language. So many people wouldn't pay attention to some of those subtle things. And that's why I say Freemasonry has its influence right across the board. When we look at the KKK, Albert Pike wrote, they're using the same stuff that Albert Pike wrote. This is when we look at Islam. When you look at some of these different groups, guess what? You'll see Albert Pike is a major contributor, and he quoted most of the bulk of his works from this guy right here, Life is Levy. So when you practice in Freemasonry, I can prove without a shadow of a doubt, you are practicing Judaism, which Judaism, the mystical system, comes from what is called the Maccabah or the Maccabah mystical system. So it's so many levels to it and layers to it in terms of the deception, the delusion. That's why I say it's when certain questions, especially like, what do you believe, or do you have to believe in a God? That term God is a generic word because anyone can say they believe in God, but we're living in a day and time now. You can't just assume what God they believe in, that they believe in the Most High of the Israelites, Abraham, Adam, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? When you say it nowadays, they're pointing to someone completely different.
So let me ask you this: how did the Knights of the Templar get a hold of Solomon's information? Because that's what it seemed like.
Well, truth be what many, and this is where you start getting into like these different mystical systems, right? Many of the mystical systems, I'm just going to use this for example, like the Kabbalah, right? The Kabbalah, you ever heard of the tree of life? You ever see in like Hinduism, they have like this tree with different circles on it and this 10 points on it. Well, guess what? In the Kabbalah, they refer to that same symbol, right? That diagram as the 10 Sephira, right? The 10 Sephira, that whole diagram is supposed to be their God, right? They call it God before God, right? And the name that they put on it is Ein Sof, which means to them is the infinite one, right? And what's interesting about the Kabbalah is this is where you get into the promotion of transvestism or hermaphrodites, right? Because that's what they teach, that in their diagram, right, you have at the bottom of that diagram, the torso, but then you'll see two reproductive organs, right? I'm being clean about it. You see the male reproductive organ, which is called of course, we know the phallus, right? And they call that the foundation. And then you'll also see what is called the Shekin or the Shekinah. Some probably heard it in the church by saying Shekinah. And that's supposed to be the feminine side of the Most High. So, but they, when you start getting into some of the things that's incorporated in it, it really pulls from multiple different mystical systems, what we see today. You know, many of the stuff that they are, what many would say this is what Solomon was practicing, they go to those religious systems, right? Let's just say if there was worshiping Asherah, if he was worshiping Asherah, well, they'll go and do the research of what was the worship of Asherah and bring that into and incorporate that. But when we look at what Life is Levy, his influence, Albert Pike, they literally were teaching Luciferian doctrine, and they account for, again, 90% of the what you see and what's being practiced today.
So you already touched on it a little bit. I wanted to go a little bit deeper into this. What are their thoughts? How do they treat sexuality in this occult? Like, do they talk about sexuality?
Or really, it just depends on what lodge you're at, you know, because, you know, like I said, the lodge that I went to, right, they did push going to church. They did push those things at that particular lodge, right? But another lodge could say, hey, you don't have to go to church, but you could go to another, you know, they could be chanting something completely different. One lodge could be practicing Christianity, mesh with what they're doing, while another lodge can be practicing Islam, while another lodge, but again, on the outside looking in, you wouldn't think these things, you know, because again, there's one perception from the outside looking in, right? So, like I said, going back to, and I'll show sources. With Albert Pike saying, going back to that reference, I said that they'll say that we believe in a God, to retell the people that we believe in a God. So from the outside looking in, it's going to look like you believe the same thing I believe. But right, on the inside, it could be something completely different. Right. So that's the key. That's why, think about it. Have you ever heard of a lodge being raided?
Never. I've never
You never heard of a lodge being raided. Right?
Ain't they people behind raiding stuff? Like getting things
raided? Think about it. Why you never heard of that? Well, right? You would go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's say you go to a particular lodge where most of the people there are Muslim. Will they make you change to where you have to be Muslim for that particular lodge?
No, they can't. As long as you believe that they're in a higher power, they can't make you believe, for example, in Allah, which if we understand ancient Hebrew, we'll see that Allah simply translates into the God, right? When you hear someone say Allahayam or someone say Allah, Allah is Aramaic, right? That transliterates to the English translation God. So long as you believe in a deity, it doesn't matter. They can't make you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to believe in, let's just say, Buddha. They can't make you do that. You can hold on to what you believe, because again, what this does is it's like a smorgasbord. You know, long as you believe in the higher power, and when I touch on some of the Albert Pike, I can just touch on Albert Pike alone, and you'll see how they incorporate different mystical systems, and you don't have to be locked in when you inside you know, let's just say if I believed in, let's just say Allah, right? And most people don't know the original God or goddess name was Allat, right? Which was the original female deity that Muslims worshipped up until when we get into Muhammad changing that. But anyway, you know, long as I believe in a deity, you can't make me conform to anything. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. All right. So do you, when a person is a Mason and someone comes up and asks you, are you a Mason? Do you have to admit to being a Mason?
No.
Like, can you be a Freemason and lie and be like, I'm not a Freemason?
Well, it's up to you. You know, some people wear what they call the light, which is square and compass, you know, will wear a button on there. You really don't have to engage anyone. But guess what? If let's just say if I knew that you were a Mason, or if I wanted to see if you were a Mason, I could shake your hand a certain way, and depending on how you respond with the handshake, I would know that either you are a Mason or not a Mason. You wouldn't know it because I could shake it a certain way, and you just wouldn't know it. You would think that, hey, this is a regular handshake, but you wouldn't know it, but I would know it, and someone else would know that as well. And then I can use certain catechisms that you would not know. But guess what? Another Mason would know, especially if they came up through the Prince Hall side of the house.
Right. I've actually heard them talking before. I've heard like people just say weird phrases and somebody answer with another weird phrase, like the sun on the east and sets on the west and stuff like that.
Or what supports your Oriental chair? Right?
I don't even know what that. Yeah,
I'm just
do have
giving
one
you a
story.
phrase, but what is your Oriental chair? Well, guess what? Another Mason will understand what supports your Oriental chair, what supports your foundation. The average person is not going to know that.
I do have one weird story. I probably should have said this before you came on, but it ain't nothing. I'm never gonna forget my brother. Well, we'll get into that. Matter of fact, I'll write that up here. Get to that story. All right. So is it true that they have certain hand gestures, or maybe you can say not even gang signs, hand gestures or body gestures to alert other Freemasons you're in trouble?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, not just with the Freemasons, even when we deal with fraternities and sororities, every fraternity and sorority comes from the Freemasons, no matter how you slice and dice it. I got some on this slide presentation. I could show you some popular fraternities and sororities that are founded on Freemasonry, right? So every fraternity and sorority has a secret handshake, and they have certain things that they can do to recognize each other. You know how some like let's just say the AKAs may let out a certain chant, a certain noise, a certain squeal. That's the AKAs. You know what I mean? The Deltas may do a certain one. That's the Deltas.
Girl. Yeah.
The Qs, you know what I mean? The Qs may make a certain sign with their hands. Well, guess what? The Freemasons, have certain signs, but it's not, how can I put it, out in the open. It's very subtle.
I got you. Oh wow, that's a good one. All right. Can you be killed for telling too many secrets of the Freemasonry?
Well, I'll just say this, that's what you're told. Some teach that, some let tell you that can happen. And I can't say if it actually happened or not, because that's a whole nother different discussion. I'm not even included in that circle anymore.
All right. Were there any positive things that you learned from Freemasons?
Well, what I will say, and this is part of the problem that, let's just say, in the church and other, within our community. One thing I will say that's positive about the Masonry, let's just say if you are a 32nd degree Mason. If I'm a 1 degree Mason, you have to reduce yourself down to my level and talk to me at my level. Versus,
I see what you're saying.
Exactly. You can't put big yourself up. You got to reduce your conversation down to that level. Even if, let's just say, if I'm a 3rd degree Mason dealing with, let's just say, an inner apprentice, I cannot talk to them on a 3rd degree level. I have to reduce myself down to that level. Unfortunately, you see a lot of that, people trying to, pump themselves up and then try to talk to people from a high level and not meet them where they are. And also I will say, hey, they do a lot of outreach, as you pointed out. They very organized, very structured. Those are some of the things that I did learn about it, coming out of it, but some positives out of it. But overall, I couldn't receive it. I could not receive being part of that fraternity.
What made you leave?
Just some of the things I'm going to cover. Some of the things actually, especially as it began to, when I began to learn that you don't have to believe in the Most High, as long as you believe in any deity. But then also what I'm going to share here, right? That true understanding of that letter G.
Okay, we're about to get into that. Let me see. What other questions do I have? Is there anything positive that you learned?
Oh, information. See, information is information, whether people call it good information or bad information. What people don't realize is that you're an IT guy like I am. Whatever somebody called deemed bad information, it's still good information from someone that's good with what? Knowing how to go through information, whether someone deem it good or bad. This is where, when people start understanding hackers and security, when you start understanding how people fish, you know what I mean? For information, most people don't realize that. Guess what? Their whole livelihood is on social media. So guess what? I can learn everything about a person without them even knowing who I am. And guess what? They give it all on, give it all away on social media. So I would just say, for me, it was a lot. I learned a lot from there that kind of confirmed things that I already learned from family members. But I did learn a lot that actually helped me see even things from a governmental perspective. It really helped me from that as well. Even when you start understanding slavery, when you start understanding even how cities like Washington, D.C. is arranged. Guess what? It's arranged by the square and the compass. The whole diagram of the city.
I did a comedy festival there not too long ago, and it was weird because it was like the roles were weird. It was like all the roles led to something. It didn't seem like how other cities are, where it's like kind of free flowing. You know what I mean? It was like there's like 5 different roles that led to like the Capitol building, like stuff like that. It's like you go to another part of town and you're in another role, and you see it led to the Capitol building, like how it was when you were on the other side of it. It was very organized. It was very organized. I guess that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah, and many of the style of the buildings, like when you start going to like Capitol Hill or City Hall, if you notice that those buildings look like lodges, right? They're when you look at the Mormons church, if you get a chance, Google and look at how a Mormons church look. It's a Masonic lodge, right? On some of a documentary that I'm working on right down in Charleston, South Carolina, I could point to houses and tell that, hey, that house is a Masonic lodge, right? I could just look at the design of the house. So, that's one of the things I will say, that it actually made me more aware, gave me more discernment, and I will say that it does work, because I can say that when I had to go to court for reckless driving, and this is when I was still part of it. Guess what? I threw a sign to the judge, and guess what? The judge acknowledged it, and I didn't have to worry about that. So,
oh my gosh, he's talking about Mexico.
So again, every fraternity, every sorority, they have signs, they have symbols, they have handshakes, they have degrees, they have levels to what they do.
Wow, this is very interesting, man. This is very interesting. Hey, it's 170 y'all in here. Hit that like button. Yo, Pastor Kelly's coming on here giving us a lot of information. Now, you had a presentation that you wanted to do. We're gonna let you do your presentation. I'm going to put up this invite link. If you want to come up here and ask some questions on your own, gotta be respectful. I saw a lot of y'all in the comment section had questions. You can come up there and ask it yourself. I'm gonna pin it to the top. Just be a little patient, because Pastor Kelly has a presentation that he's going to do now. What would you like to call this presentation? Tell the people what it's about.
Secret societies, and I'm going to touch on a few things that most people don't know about fraternities and sororities, that there's different groups. And some could be signing their child up and don't even know. Like
Wow.
the National Honor Society. You're right. That is a fraternity.
I did not know that. Well, look, I'm gonna get out of your way. I'm gonna let you. Do you know how to? I think you got the same controls, just about.
Yeah. Let me see here.
There you go.
All right. So I'll leave it in this setting so that way the people can still see you and I here on the screen. All right. So the first thing I want to answer that question about the letter G. I'm going to answer that question. I want to also answer the question about, for example, what is a fraternity? What is a fraternity? Why do we hear the Fraternal Order of Police? Why do they have that actual term? Fraternal what? Order. All right. So let me just break down a few things. I'm not going to go through the identity portion of it. Let me look at here, because this is a very detailed presentation, because I start off by just laying down the foundation about race, about heritage, but I'm not going to go through that. But I will touch on a key thing. Let me fast forward here. Right. Let's start right here. Right. And for those that are watching, I'm just going to give you Hebrew far as in terms of definitions of certain words. Like two key words I want to highlight is salvation, right? Salvation. From the Hebraic perspective, right? You see Yasha or Yasha'ah, right? However you want to pronounce it, Yashai, right? But you see here, to be open, free, to be safe, avenging, defend, deliver, deliverer, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, right? So this is key for you to understand. The next word I want to highlight is shield, right? Shield, right? If from a Hebraic perspective, you see magen, the primitive root or the ancient pronunciation of this word is magan. So if you hear me say magen or magan, preferably I use the ancient Hebrew magan pronunciation. That's what it means. This is where you hear about the Star of David, right? Magan Dawid or Magan Dawad, right? That's ancient Hebrew for as Magan Dawad, right? So let me break down this shield here, and I'm going to touch on a few other things, right? This so-called Star of David, as you see on your screen, Magan Dawid, right? Or Magan David, rather, right? Shield of David, the so-called Star of David. Now, you're a geek like I am, Moxy, right? The first thing that you see is going to catch your attention is what? The so-called, right? The so-called. That's a big red flag right there. But let me break this down right here. The so-called Star of David or Magan Dawad or hexagram constructed of two interlocking or interlocked triangles, now accepted as a symbol of Judaism. Actually, it was not associated with Judaism until the late Middle Ages. It was not officially accepted as a Jewish symbol until the 17th century.
Wow.
The original source of the Magen David was the Tantric great Yantra. This is getting into Hinduism. Now, and notice what this says here, which stood for the union of the sexes. So when you see this symbol right here, basically it's a symbol of intercourse, right? The Kali dance of death, if you want to take it a step further. So notice what it says here, which stood for the union of the sexes. And when you start understanding the steeples and churches, and it comes from this here. So it says here, the downward pointing triangle being the female, the upward pointing triangle being one male, the two signifying the eternal union of God and goddess, right? Kabbalistic gods and goddesses. So you notice what it says here. Kabbalistic sex worship brought the Yantra into Jewish tradition, but later puritanical elements obscured its original meaning, right? So I want to lay that out for a reason, because again, that's Star David, right? That symbol that comes from Hinduism. represents what? Sexual intercourse. You can also say sexual rituals, right? Or temple prostitution, right? So notice what you see here on your screen, right? You see some of these symbols. You see some of the influence on these symbols here. But notice every organization, especially when you're dealing with the government, what do they have? A shield. They have a symbol, right, that you have to pledge to. And what you're pledging is you're using your life as collateral. So when you pledging to any system, you are what? Pledging your life as collateral. So that way you can get whatever benefits that's on the other side of that shield.
Now, when they say your life, does that also mean your soul?
In a nutshell, yeah. Because when you're dealing with these pledges, right, especially when you're dealing with fraternities and sororities, they go a step further. They name the other deities in the midst of their pledges. And I'll get to that in shortly as we progress here. But yeah, you pledging your life, you pledging your whole being, right? It's so many layers to this, right? So, Fraternal Order of the Police. Let me just give you a little information on the Fraternal Order of Police, right? The Fraternal Order of Police began in 1915 by two Pittsburgh patrol officers, Martin Toole and Delbert Nagel. 21 other cops met on May 14, 1915, and held the first meeting of the Fraternal Order of the Police, forming Fort Pitt Lodge No. 1. The Fraternal Order of Police not only mimicked the Masonic structure, but also adopted a 5-pointed star as their emblem, containing twin Masonic images of the all-seeing eye and a typical Masonic style grip, handshake, right? So these are some other organizations, right? You got the Red Flag, you got the Fire Department, you got Great Britain, you got different organizations in countries with that's heavily influenced by the Masons. So every shield, remember this, everyone that's watching, every shield has a set of laws which can only be carried by those who pledge, right? And here's the etymology dictionary definition of the word pledge. It means to promise, to give over as security for repayment, put under oath or put someone under oath. In other words, guess what? You're pledging your life, right? And notice these symbols up here. Notice some of these college fraternities from within our community. And I'm going to put some symbols, 2 key symbols in between. You guys know what that is, right? That's the Eastern Star. And that's the Freemasonry, right? All you have to do on the Freemasonry, if you put a line here and a line here, guess what you have? You have your star, right? So all of these fraternities connect to ultimately Freemasonry, no matter how you look at it. Fatal, right? All of that ties into Freemasonry. And you can also see, well, what do you notice here? You see the 2 horns? See the 2 ears? You see the mouth? That's the Baphomet right there.
Wow.
Right? These symbols have meanings, family. And what's sad about this, real quick, Moxy, is because we don't know our identity, we are institutionalized to protect something that's not even part of our community. Brothers, and I know you've been to college and and you've seen this firsthand. You can see brothers have fought brothers, blood brothers, over fraternities and sororities. Families won't even talk to each other because someone pledged to a different organization.
That's kind of crazy to me. Well, one reason why I didn't get into a fraternity is because there was one dude who didn't like me at all in our dorms. And all of a sudden he switched and tried to get me to be a part of his fraternity. And, my roommate at the time said, dude, don't do it. He was in a fraternity. He said he's doing it to have control over you. And he was like, if you pledge or whatever, you're going to have to go through certain things like, hazing and all that. And he was like, he's probably going to try to become your mentor or something like that. So yeah, but not to let you get off topic. Keep going, man.
All right. So again, you have the Eastern Stars, you have the Freemasons, right? Which the Eastern Stars come up under the Masons, right? So you have what is called the Glows, right? The Greek letter organization. I want to highlight this real quick, right? So why so many of our brothers and sisters, Israelite brothers and sisters, call themselves Greeks when that's not their nationality? You see how crazy we sound as a people that we're trying to protect Greek themed organizations and pledge to those things and don't care about their true identity, right? You know,
well, you said it earlier. Since we don't know our identity, we're constantly searching for one. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're allowing others to define it for us.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
We're allowing others to define it for us, right? And so I want to highlight this real quick, right? This is the very first college fraternity in this country, Phi Beta Kappa, right? Phi Beta Kappa was founded on Freemasonry, and they met at a lodge. This is a lodge right here, right? Phi Beta Kappa was founded by 5 students at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. The first meeting was held in the Apollo Room of the old Raleigh Tavern on December 5th, 1776. So this is just giving you some information on this fraternity. So the group consisted of students who frequently gathered at the Raleigh Tavern, which was a common meeting area of the campus, on a college campus, in which the story began to circulate that the Masonic Lodge also met at this same tavern, right? But the Freemasons supposedly gathered at a different building in Williamsburg, right? And I live near this place. So coincidentally, 10 of the original members later became Freemasons. How coincidental is that, right? So this is another thing I want to share with our brothers and sisters, just so we understand here. There are 4 classes or classifications of fraternities and sororities. Let me highlight them real quick. You have social fraternities and sororities. In other words, these are the ones that you find most in colleges and universities. Then you have professional fraternities and sororities, like such as journalism, law, medicine, even music, right? You even see this in sports where they call what the NFL as being what? A fraternity. Protect what? The shield.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
Right. So, same thing with the NBA and some of these other sports, even some of the like AAU, right? These different men that people are pledging to that shield, right? So then you have what is called the Honor and Recognition Society, right? Comprised mostly of students enrolled in colleges of art and science, right? And then you have the varsitarians, in other words, exclusive for college and university students in a particular region or province or region. For example, like let's just say New England area, you have certain fraternities for that area. And like as I pointed out, the National Honors Society is a fraternity. Wow. We yanked that daughter out of it when we went to this ceremony. I was like, wait a minute, this is actually a Masonic initiation here, right? It's like, whoa,
that's pretty deep.
Pull my daughter out of that. It's like, no, you're not going to be part of that society. And I explained it to her, you know what I mean? So the history of fraternities and sororities real quick. Most social fraternities and sororities impose secret obligations on their members and have secret or distinctive handshakes, as we already covered, and passwords that enable the members to be acquainted with one another while verifying their common membership. So every fraternity has what is called the baptismal presentation. So what is the baptismal presentation? Well, the baptismal presentation is the first stage in all fraternities and sororities initiation rites. And you'll see this this all comes from Freemasonry, right? A person cannot become a member without passing this stage, right? The first stage is called the baptismal because the applicant or recruits is baptized and given a baptism name or alias. Like you see in school days, how they have different nicknames like Half Pint and those different things. So that's where you got your nicknames from, right? And so after the baptismal, the applicant is called a neophyte, right? Because he or she lives as a slave until he or she finally become a member of that fraternity or sorority. And so when we understand the word neophyte, I'm just going through this real quick. New convert, newly initiated, right? Newly planted, right? So I'm just going through this so you guys can understand this, right? And so the very first fraternity in the United States, guess what? Is Freemasonry, as far as Prince Hall Freemasonry. That is the first Negro fraternity in the United States. The oldest Negro fraternity in the United States is the Freemasons of Prince Hall, right? So I'm not going to go into all this, but this gives you some information on Prince Hall, how he got into his position that he's in. But I want to highlight one quick thing here, right? Let me see here.
Hold on, you giving them a lot. Yo, hit that like button, y'all. We over here cooking. Hit that like button.
See, I want y'all to pay attention to this one key thing that I highlighted earlier, where how I became a Mason, how I was introduced to it. On March 6, 1775, Prince Hall and 14 men of color were made Masons in Lodge 441 or 441 of the Irish Registry, attached to the 38th British Foot Infantry at Castle Williams Island in Boston Harbor, Massachusetts. So this is military. It marked the first time that Black men were made Masons in this country. About a year later, since the conflict between England and America had commenced, the British Foot Infantry left Boston with its lodge, leaving Prince Hall and his associates without a lodge. Before the lodge left, the worshipful Master Bott gave them a permit to meet as a lodge and bury their dead in the manner and form, right? This permit, however, did not allow them to do any Masonic work or take in any new members. And this is where you start getting into the charter, right? Because every lodge has to have a charter. So under it, African Lodge was organized on July 3rd, 1776, with Prince Hall as the worshipful master. So it wasn't long before the lodge received an additional permit by the provincial Grand Master John Rowe to walk in procession on St. John's Day. On March 2nd, 1784, African Lodge number 1 petitioned the Grand Lodge of where? England, the premier or mother Grand Lodge of the world, for a warrant or a charter, as I just pointed out, to organize a regular Masonic lodge with all the rights and privileges thereunto prescribed. So I want to say this, family, because we really pump ourselves on the chest, beat our chest when we accomplish certain things as a people. Like many would say, hey, this is a major accomplishment. This is a major accomplishment for Prince Hall, right? Achieving this major accomplishment of starting the first Black Freemason lodge here, establishing it here, and getting a charter in this country. But I want to make this clear.
Prince Hall was Black?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Wow. I never knew that.
See, his position was guarding the door. This is where you get into the Tyler sword, right? He was basically watching the door while they were having their meetings and everything. He was the one that was responsible for watching the door.
So right? is this why they typically split it up and they have they say, well, if you're this type of Mason, you're not a Mason. I believe Prince Hall are the ones that, because I know my brother one time I asked him some questions after a guy approached me about Freemasonry. I asked my brother some questions about it, and he asked him, is it Prince Hall, free will and accepted? Something like that.
See, that's when you start getting into the different houses. And I've been out of it so long, so I can't really go into the details of it like I used to. But that's when you start getting into the different houses, what side of the house you come up on, and some make a big deal out of that.
I got you.
All right, but I want to make this clear. This is a major accomplishment, right? However, this is not the heritage that Yah set aside for his people. for us wanting to be accepted by this organization that's ran by Caucasians, right? The same people that was enslaving us. Now we want to be accepted in their organization. Yeah, it sounds like it's a major accomplishment, but what did it really accomplish for us as a people? What did it really accomplish? And so this is a key scripture. Then I'll skip to some other stuff that I want to highlight real quick. It says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing for if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteous, whose end shall be according to their works." Right. So this is saying Hasatan, right? Transforms, make himself appear like he is the truth, and has what? Followers, and they have a doctrine as well. Right. So let me highlight here another thing. This is where I want to get into this portion of it real quick. Right. Satan disguises himself as an angel of light or messenger of light. Right. And Masonry. Right. Regardless of it, I'm just going to say Masonry. I'm not getting into the different sides of it, but this is right across the board. Light is very important in their doctrine. In every lodge, you're going to have what is called the three lesser lights. Right. You have the sun, moon, and the master of that lodge, which is referred to as the worshipful master. And remember, I just showed you how the scripture says Hasatan disguises himself as what? An angel, a messenger of light, right? So in the temple, these are the three lesser lights, right? The three lesser lights. And I could give scripture. I'm not going to go too deep into scripture. I could give scripture with him warning, with the Messiah warning about these secret societies, right? So this is a text right here. I'm not going to go into it, but I just wanted to show it up on the screen. But let me highlight what I touched on earlier, right? Right? The pillars of Freemasonry, right? This man right here, Eliphas Levi. Remember this book I held up on the screen?
Right.
Right? This book right here, right? Eliphas Levi. This is just a couple of bullets about Eliphas Levi real quick, right? What is more absurd and more impious than to attribute the name of Lucifer to the devil? That is to personified evil. The intellectual Lucifer is the spirit of intelligence and love. It is the paraclete, in other words, an advocate. It is the Holy Spirit, where the physical Lucifer is the great angel of universal magnetism, right? And this is coming from, and I want to say this before I continue on, Moxy, to the people that's watching. Family, I know I'm showing sources. Please don't go out here and start reading these sources if you don't have a strong foundation. Because this stuff can mess you up.
Repeat that to them again. Repeat it to them again.
Yeah, please don't go out here purchasing these sources, reading these sources, and you don't have a solid foundation, because this stuff will mess you up if you're not careful. It will mess you up because, unfortunately, many of our people will read these type of things, but they won't go and read the scriptures. They'll read everything but the scripture. Even in this awakening, right? I have more people reading and asking questions about the Apocrypha, but then when I ask them, "Have you read the book of Genesis?" They never read the book of Genesis.
Right.
So it's like, at least get your foundation up under your feet. Know what you know, because if you start going out here just purchasing these sources, it can mess you up. And a lot of people have gotten messed up trying to go into these sources that I'm highlighting. That's why I'm very selective about the sources I put on the screen. So this right here, this is the Dictionary of Satanism by Wade Baskins. And this is what it says about Eliphas Levi, French magician and author of works on the occult. Eliphas Levi, whose real name was Alphonse Louis Constant, who claimed to have summoned up the ghost of Apollonius of Tyana in London in 1854. Born in Paris about 1810, he is said to have been reincarnated as Aleister Crowley, right? A.E. Waite, the learned English occultist, said Levy's doctrine and ritual contained the secrets of an occult society into which Levy had been initiated and from which he had been expelled. So I just want to make sure you understand this. I'm not going to read this doctrine, this highlight here. But I want you to show what he created here. This is what Eliphas Levi created, this Baphomet.
Got titty.
Which is exactly, it's hermaphrodite. See, most people don't know that. See, they removed it. Let me pull this back here. Notice what it says here. Levy's Baphomet was a hermaphrodite with breasts, but we took it. Notice what it says. But this is an interview, but we took the breasts off, says Greaves. The temple did not want to get embroiled in a debate about gender, which might distract from what it believes are more important things to cover. And when you notice, go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut. Look. So Levy, it was a Rev 22.
He was a what now?
A Rev 22.
Rev 22. I'm not familiar with that term.
Well, that's our little code word. We'll get back to it. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of out of the loop.
I'm trying not to do them trigger words on here. I'll put it in the private comment.
I got you. Okay. And so, as you pointed out, though, this Baphomet, most people don't know is a hermaphrodite. That's why you see the breasts here, and notice the signs here, right? And this, many people don't know this here. So a little bit about Albert Pike, real quick, and then I'll break down the letter G. One of the first Americans to come under the influence of Eliphas Levi was the noted Masonic writer Albert Pike. You see him connected to his works connected to the KKK. You see his works connected to Islam. You see his work connected to Freemasonry, right? One of the first Americans to come under the influence of Eliphas Levi was the noted Masonic writer Albert Pike, right? Morals and Dogma, right? This book that he wrote revealed entire sections Pike took verbatim from the works of Eliphas Levi. So the foundation of Freemasonry is Judaism. Now, this is some quotes real quick from his book, right? Morals and Dogma, right? You see how he's sitting here, how he's positioned here. That's a whole nother discussion right there. But, Lucifer, this is his quote coming out of his own source. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light? And with its splendid, intolerable, blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls. Doubt it. But notice what he says here. That we must say to a crowd is, we worship a God. Remember I broke that down earlier? Notice what he says here. He said to the crowd, they have to say that we worship a God, but it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, sovereign, grand inspector general, we say this that you may repeat it, basically saying to repeat it to the people, right? Let me fast forward. I'm not going to get into breaking down Gnosticism. It goes on to say the 31st and the 30th degrees, the Masonic religion should be by all of us initiates of the higher degrees maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine, right? The sun represents the actual light. He pours out the moon in his fundating rays. Both shed their lights upon the offsprings, the blazing star or Horus, and the three forms of the great equilateral triangle, and the center of which is the omnific letter of the Kabbalah, by which creation is said to have been erected. So you see all these different mystical systems here. But notice what it says here. In the first three Persian Amshapans, it says Lord of Light, Fire, and Splendor. Now we get into the worship of the elements. This is getting into the Wicca. This is getting to the witches, right? Many call themselves Christian witches today. So we recognize that Aor, Zohar, and Zayo, light, splendor, brightness of what? The Kabbalah. Masonry is a search after light. That search leads us right back, as you see, to the Kabbalah. So I'm just making it clear. I'm just fast forwarding here, just so that way people understand this is what it's pointing you to. So Philo, right, calls it the universal light, right? Universal, if you understand this, and I break this real, let me know, Max, if I'm going to geek mode here. Universal, this is when you get the word universalism, it's the doctrines of what? Universal. Universal, if you break down the word universe, right? Universal comes from the word universe. Universe. Uni is the Etruscan god or triple goddess, right? This is what they call the Trinity, the triune, the triple goddess, or the Capitoline Triad, the triple witches, right? So when you hear that term universalism, it is the doctrine of who? Uni and her doctrine. All right. So I just want to highlight that real quick. All right. Let me highlight one more thing here from Albert Pike here. I thought I had it here. Let me see here. When we see right here, he says, granted, Kabbalah, it says here, all truly dogmatic religions have issued from the Kabbalah and returned to it. Everything scientific and grand and the religious dreams of all the Illuminati. Jacob Bohemian, excuse me if I'm butchering his name, Swedenborg, St. Martin, and others is borrowed from the Kabbalah. All the Masonic associations owe to their secrets and their symbols. So again, we see that he was heavily into the Kabbalah, right? And then the last thing I wanted to highlight that he said here, let me see here. Notice what he says here. If Lucifer were not God, see that going back to that term when he say we believe in a God, now he's making it clear who he referred to as a God. He said if Lucifer were not God, would Adonai rather, whose deeds prove his cruelty and hatred of man, barbarism and repulsion for science, would Adonai and his priests culminate him? Yes, Lucifer is God. And unfortunately, Adonai is also God. For the eternal law is that there is no light without shade. So this is just getting into him giving more justification of this Luciferian doctrine. But he says here, thus the doctrine of Satanism is a heresy, and the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light, God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil. So I just wanted to highlight that just a little bit about Albert Pike. If you want, I could go ahead and just touch on the letter G real quick. But if you want to ask me a few questions in between, that'd be good as well.
No, that's fine. We did have someone down there for a question. They took off. I told them to give it a second. But that was a question. What does the letter G stand for? Look, y'all can come on here and ask some questions. Just give him a second. He's going to do his presentation, and you have to be patient down there. Then I'll bring you up and ask questions. I know I was about 3 or 4 of y'all in there that have left. Give it a second. But that was a question. What the letter G stand for?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So let me show that. Let me get to that portion of it.
182 of y'all in here, hit that like button. Sharing some knowledge today.
Now, as you can see, this is a large presentation, as you see here, right? So let me go to that portion here. Let's go to God, right? God, right? Those, remember the books I highlighted in the beginning? I'll show it up on the screen here. I'm taking it. These are screen prints coming out of this book right here. Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. All right. But notice what it says here. God, God. Oh. The initials Gomer, Oz, Dabar. It is a singular, it says it is a singular coincidence and worthy of thought that the letters composing the English name of deity should be the initials of the Hebrew word wisdom, strength, and beauty. The 3 great pillars or metaphorical supports of Masonry, they seem to present almost the only reason that can reconcile a Mason to the use of the initial G. It, in its conspicuous suspension in the east of the lodge, in place of the delta, right? That triangle, the delta, right? That's the yoni from Hinduism, right? That triangle, which many make the symbol with their hands. And notice it says delta, right? And I could bring that up about the delta sorority as well, right? But it says the incidents seem to be more than an accident, saying that, hey, wait a minute, this is no coincidence. So notice what it says here. As you see here, the D, right? The bar, even though this should be reversed, but the bar, wisdom, Oz or ooze, right? It says strength, and that letter G, beauty, Gomer, right? Gamar, right? So let me go here. This is what? When you see that letter G, remember it says it stands for who? Let me go back here. Right? Remember where I read it? It says what? The G stands for who?
Gomer.
Gomer. Why is that important? Those that say that they awaken. Why is that important? Right? Freemasonry promotes the worship of Gomer. And if you understand slavery, right? The laws wasn't written for anyone but the white male, the white man. Because I got sources I could show you that says that even his wife, the white woman, had to worship him and serve him as if he was God. And we didn't have benefits. So this is why we see, for example, even the image of the Messiah of the scriptures, they changed it to make it look like them. So all along, we are being programmed to worship them, the white man. So why is it important? Or why is this important to know? Let me give you scripture. Genesis chapter 10, verse 2. Notice what it says here. Now, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog. This is getting into all the sons, but going down to verse 3, the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, right? This is Gomer, sons of Japheth, Ashkenaz. And I'm going to show you why this is important, right? I'm not going to get into all this Hebrew definition of Gomer, right? But why is this important to know? Verse 5. Let me bring up verse 5. By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, everyone after their tongues, after their families, and their nations. And I want to say this, you guys can do this offline. If you look up nation, if you look up heritage, right? If you starting with nation, if you go to Oxford, use Oxford Dictionary, they're going to identify that a nation is someone that has a group of people, a common language, they own, territory. They have land. That's what a nation is. Heritage means valued objects. So we see right here is saying that the descendants of Gomer, they have their own what? Heritage, right? That's why I said that for a reason. So Gomer is the father of Ashkenaz. This is important. 90% of the Jewish community, as we know them, right, is descendants of Ashkenaz. Right? And notice Genesis 9:27. What's that?
That's the little code word I got, Rev 22. That right there.
All right, I'll say Rev 22. All right. All right, I'll say, you said Rev 22?
Rev, like Revelations. Rev.
All right, I'll say Rev 22. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Right? So the Most High, Elohim, some would say Elohim, shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. So this is telling you how Japheth is going to what? Hijack people's identities. Shem, the Canaanites, like when we look at Egypt, or when we look at Ham, right? That's the actual pronunciation of it. It's Ham, not Ham. It's Ham, right? And this is where you get the word Kemet or Hamat from, right? So saying that they're going to hijack their identity, right? You see it happening before our eyes. So every fraternity, every sorority promotes the worship of Gomer, right? Promotes the worship of Gomer.
Caesar Borgia.
You see it, and you see Julia. What's her name? Julia Farnese. That's the image of that they show today of the Virgin Mary, right?
Right.
So, I want to highlight that, but that's what that's pretty much. Do I have any more on that? I think that was, that's pretty much what I want to share with just let the show you what the letter G stand for. I want to keep it brief and simple on that. So, any questions, Moxy? I know I shared a lot on that.
No, you can. Can someone step in and ask a question real quick?
Okay.
All right. We got William Brown. He's been sitting here for a minute. What's up with you, man?
Hey, what's up, Moxy? Not much. I don't have a question. Just came in. He's speaking on something that's something that.
Wow.
His connection really bad.
Yeah, your connection really bad. He took himself out of there. You could come in not cammed up, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put up. We woke. I'm gonna put him up. So, because I don't know. Whenever you're not cammed up, ain't no telling. This might be one of them ones where All right, there you go again. So go ahead.
And William Brown, you could. We can see you now.
Yeah, no, he can. No, he's still on. He's still on.
Okay.
We just got it on you. Go ahead, ask the question. Hey, your signal is really bad, man. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
All right, there you go.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
That's better.
Yeah, nothing wrong about me. Okay, makes me actually start
Hey, you got to go near some Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah, because it sounds like he's on a 28K modem.
Okay, hold on. I'm on my phone, but
it sounds like he's still using the AOL.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
I think, hey, man, I think this topic you're talking about, man. I think this topic you're touching on, they're playing with the line, because I talked to you before. But I'm thinking, make sure you actually.
Yeah, he just dropped right on off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying the brother got some things wrong about masonry.
All right, go ahead, man. What question do you have?
I don't have a question. I just want to say that masonry did not come out from America. It started in Kemet. Black people started masonry. Black people. There wasn't no white people.
Hey, you know what? He typically said that, man. I don't think he was listening.
Yeah, okay. I never said that. Yeah. What I said was
America.
Okay.
Yeah, what I said was Albert Pike, to what we see today, is the one that has the influence of what we see in Freemasonry today. I never said that he created Freemasonry.
Yeah, he even talked about how a lot of it has something to do with King Solomon. I think King Solomon had some of the most pyramids dedicated to him. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah. There was a lot dedicated to him.
He had a lot of pyramids dedicated to him in Egypt, man. But he said that, man, if that's what you wanted to come up here and talk about, we already got that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, no problem.
All right. All right. Hey, you got more? You want to keep going? You got anything else you would like to present?
I'll show some real quick on the. Let me just go to the fraternities.
Go ahead. No. I wanted to take a second to answer some questions because the brother was down there for a minute.
Okay.
So go ahead. Continue what you was doing. Hey, hit that like button, man. They showing you a lot of love. And y'all make sure y'all follow We Woke Now channel. But yes, please keep going.
And just a little.
Let me switch it back. There you go.
Okay, and this is just a side note here, some additional information, some bonus information, so to speak. I want you to understand the influence of the Judaism and Hinduism have on the hip hop community. I want to show this to you guys, just how other cultures have a heavy influence on us, even the very things that we rap about and sing about, right? This is coming from the Jewish Almanac, 1980, page 392. And I encourage you guys, purchase a copy of this. You cannot get it brand new, but it's a lot of information here that really opens up a lot of information. So Rev 22, that's what I'm going to say. So notice what it says here. Ghetto, write that word ghetto. That is a Yiddish word. right? Ghetto, it comes from Rev 22. Yiddish from the Italian diminutive for borghetto, or a little borough. As early as 1611, the word meant the place where the fraternity, notice what it calls it, the fraternity of Rev 22 dwells together. All right, so I want to point that out. Then when we look at Hinduism, the word diva, right? The name of Lady God Diva is simply a combination of three different ways of saying goddess, right? A mother Goda, or Goda, or however, no, well, really it's Goda or Gerd. She was the same as Freya, or consort of Godan, right? Or Wotan, father of gods, right? Now this is saying the goths. But you see, this is one of the things that you hear today, right? She a diva. And you got men calling themselves divas, wide receivers calling themselves divas. This is all in our music today. The women calling themselves diva, right? But notice it says here, was a universal Indo-European word for goddess derived from Sanskrit Devi. Tantric scriptures still speak of a mother of creation and a holy female river. All right. The word thug, right? Hinduism, right? Thug, right? Notice what this says. The curious ritual murder cult of Thuggee. Doesn't it sound familiar? When you start thinking about the behaviors, when you start looking at what happened to, for example, Biggie and Tupac fighting over what? Divas. You see this happening right now.
I mean, I grew up with Tupac and Thug Life, man. Please continue. Please continue.
So the curious ritual murder cult of Thuggee flourished in central India for some 3 centuries until the advent of railroads decreased foot travel in the 1800s, so that the depredations of Thuggee, in other words, highwaymen, declined. But notice what it says here. Thugs were fanatical worshipers of the goddess Kali, in other words, the diva Kali, having developed the idea that killing men, right, killing their own men, killing men, doesn't it sound familiar? That spirit that's happening in our community, promoting killing each other over what? A diva? Developed the idea that killing men in her name would win them a privileged reincarnation. They preyed on their enemies, the Brahmins. Women had nothing to fear from the thugs. Their victims were only men.
Wow.
You know, so
wow.
I just want to, just how it goes, give some additional information here. But I want to show you here, and I'm not going to go, I'm just going to go right into a couple of fraternities, right? Remember I mentioned the deltas, right? And I also mentioned the AKAs, but let's deal with the deltas real quick. I want to just show you, and I'm going to show you some information coming directly out of their ritual, their handbook. I have the information. This is coming directly from it. So I invested a lot in this information. So notice what it says here. The Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Grand Chapter Ritual 1990, page 30. It says this: National President, we believe in a spiritual life, but we leave it to the individual the selection of the medium for its outward manifestation. Remember what I said to you, Moxy, earlier, how Freemasonry says it doesn't matter what you believe in, right? As long as you believe in a higher power. Doesn't that sound familiar right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so medium family, when you start understanding mediums, you have all different types of mediums that are out there, and many of our brothers and sisters are getting involved in this stuff that's not even part of our culture. I'm not going to just real quick, and if you don't mind me saying this about Vivica Fox real quick, if you do you mind me if I mention that?
No, go ahead. We tore her up on the last one. You can go ahead.
Just for her to even refer to Kevin Samuels, right? Saying that karma, she came and visited him. And basically he got what karma, the judgment of karma basically was what she said. So karma is supposed to be whatever you do come back to you. Whatever energies you put out in the universe, right? Universe, it comes back to you, right? That's what she was saying, that he sold that type of stuff out in the atmosphere for him to die from it. That's witchcraft. See, that's witchcraft. When I heard him make that statement and others making statements like that, that is witchcraft.
And it was incorrect, man.
It was incorrect.
It was incorrect.
He didn't.
Can I add to that? Because it is something I wanted to say about that. Of course, we're not about to get into this because we have a very good topic we on now, so we're not going to get to this about Kevin Samuels. But one thing that I'm seeing from this, that people just disagree with him, that they've been disrespecting him, and they've been bringing up like her. She brought up Karma. Some other people I know, that one Pastor Bryant, that got all them women in his church pregnant. He talked about God and stuff like that. And whenever I hear people talk like that, I know that these folks don't know how God works. All right. Now, I'm not about to sit here and say what God judgment was on Kevin, whether he did this. Of course, God has to permit for someone to die. But for people to state that it was because of God did this to take Kevin Samuels away, they don't know how God operates, because when God wants your message crushed and really doesn't agree with what you're saying, you know what he does? He discredits you. All right. You remember when Simon, the sorcerer's assignment, after Yeshua left and he went at it with Peter, remember they had pretty much, he tried to have a magic war. He said, if your God is as real as my God, can he do this? And Simon, which they also said might have been like a Freemason, whatever, had levitated. And remember, Peter prayed and Simon fell, and then everybody stoned Simon, the sorcerer. He discredited Simon. All right. So when God really trying to destroy somebody's message, he discredits them. He don't kill them. Some of the greatest people of our culture died in the middle of their message, and it only made their message get bigger. All right. And I don't like, comparing Kevin Samuels to certain people, but I mean, look at Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. All these are people who died, and their message only got bigger after they died. Where if God really wanted to destroy their message, he would discredit them. So I just only wanted to put that in there.
And just real quick, Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 11 tells us time and chance happen to all of us. In other words, we all have an expiration date with this body. We don't know when that expiration date is going to come. And so again, I never listened to any of Kevin Samuel's stuff. I don't even know what he talked about. But just looking at the venom that went at him, for me, it's like, man, the man is dead. You know what I mean? At least allow his family to mourn, his mother to mourn, and
right.
So, but yeah. So, but even going back over to here, as we was dealing with the point that I made about the fraternities and sororities, that key word is medium. And what a medium is, you have medium and you have media, right? And matter of fact, I'll just bring it up. I'll just go to the definitions real quick, just so that way the people can see the source. Because you know how it goes when you're dealing with stuff like this. It's good to show the sources so many won't think that, I'm just making or free winging it or whatever. But this is when I say media, right? Media, right? The main means of mass communication. And here's some of the examples: broadcasting, publishing, the internet, social media. Those are forms of media, right? But the media, right, is the plurality form of medium. So these are different ways. These are some of the ways up here, as far as many will use to cross certain gateways, right? You guys heard of the Ouija board. You guys heard of the 8-ball. You heard of a number of other things that even in the chemic community, many of the conscious community, many of them are talking about the pineal gland, or, all these different things. But in a nutshell, those are forms of media, basically coming from the word medium, right? And medium simply means, let me just go to that real quick, is the intervening substance through which impressions are conveyed to the senses, or a force acts on objects at a distance, right? So now I said all of that to say, let me go back to what I have here as far as with quoting from this ritual book from the Deltas here, says, we believe in a spiritual life, but we leave to the individual the selection of the medium for its outward manifestation, right? And these are different, as I pointed out, different forms of mediums, right? Let me go back here.
Even an 8-ball, huh? Pool. Damn.
Yep, the 8-ball. And that Ouija board initially was originally called the Egyptian luck board, right? And here's the original advertisement for it. So that dial, notice that dial here, and I'm gonna show you here, right? Let me give you another image of it, right? That is when they're forming that triangle, right? That pyramid, that delta, that is a form of what? Medium.
My child bigger than y'all, bitch.
Sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button. Sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
But notice what it says here. This is coming from the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Grand Chapter Membership Intake Program, their booklet, 1990, page 106. They said that they leave it on the medium, whatever method they use to get to where? This goddess right here. It says that is why Minerva, the goddess of wisdom, is our sorority mentor. Now, I skipped right past the Illuminati portion of it, but you'll see how that deity, this goddess, ties right into, the Illuminati in terms of how they push these programs. Of course, none of us could be Illuminatis, but they push an agenda. You see the influence on this particular sorority. They're worshiping the goddess Minerva, which is referred to as the goddess of wisdom, right? And this is someone that walked away from denounced being a Delta, right? And she says here, I'm denouncing my membership with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. When I first joined, I was so blinded by my desires to be part of the organization and didn't focus on God's will. Also, if the organization is founded on Christian principles, why did the founders think it was okay to place Minerva, in other words, the Roman goddess, on the shield that I wore across my heart, right? And this is more that particular goddess. I'm not going to go too deep in it, but you'll see some, like I pointed out earlier, universal Etruscans, right? Roman goddess of wisdom, and the moon derived from the Etruscan goddess Minerva, right? Or Minerva, probably a crone aspect of the original Capitoline Triad, which still ties into the Etruscans. A Latinized Athene. Her totem was the same as the Athene, Lilith, and the Welsh goddess Blodwed, an owl, which consequently became known as the bird of wisdom and of witches. And this is the triple goddess that I referred to. This is the triple goddess, the Capitoline Triad, right? You see the maiden or the damsel, you see the mother, and you see crone, or which is referred to the hag. And guess what? I'm gonna show an image of how one of the popular singers of today, how they tie into this system here. They actually practicing this. Here's the image, right? Look at their position.
Wow.
Look at what's wrapped around the mother's or the old lady or the hag neck. Because hag, this is not an insult, but that's what they refer to the older woman as hag, right? So you see here, she has what? The yannis around her neck. This is the horseshoe yanni. And look at their position. Notice Beyonce is what? Pregnant here. And notice where the hand of what? The mother here. This is from the what it was, the Grammys, probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Symbolism's right in our face, and we can't even
right
see
in front of our face. And this is Blodwed, the owl. Remember this from? I think it was part 2 to the Huntsman or something like that. You also see this in that cartoon that Disney made with the witch, the ice witch or whatever. The owl. That's all tying into this stuff right here. Right in our faces, right? But going back here real quick, the most direct line of descent from Greek societies, right? And this is coming from Delta Sigma Sorority, incorporate their handbook, their candidate syllabus, page 30. The most direct line of descent from Greek societies to America is the Freemasons, called Masons. Historians of America fraternities and sororities trace most of our rituals, ceremonies, and rites to the Masons. An examination of Masonic rituals open to scholars suggests that our founders were also influenced by Masonic rituals, symbolism, and initiation experiences. Right? So that's just giving you some, some additional information. This is a song that they have here. They have, she's saying that the hymn that they sing, their fraternity or a sorority song, the hymn sounds like a religious spiritual song. However, Jesus is the light and our guidance. We praise not him. We praise him, not Delta or Minerva. And this is just a sample of what she's saying here. She said they arrange biblical things, in other words, biblical words, but they put their own Deltish spin on it to point to their deities, right? And this is an example real quick.
It's the rock.
So it says, though I speak with the tongues of the learned and the profound, have no love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. That sounds familiar. That's coming out of the Bible, but they twisted it around. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1, right? Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then here, wow. And though I prophesy, this is coming from their book, though I prophesy, know all the Delta laws, rituals, traditions, and secrets, and can recite them glibly, and though I have such absolute devotion to duty that I can do anything my hands undertake and have not love, I am nothing. Right? This is them twisting the word. This is chapter 13, verse 2 of the same book. Notice what it says. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understanding all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am what? Nothing. So they're taking things and they put their spin on it. And lastly, this is another thing. When I was a pyramid, this is still coming out of their book. When I was a pyramid, I talked like a pyramid. I understood as a pyramid. I thought as a pyramid. But now that I have become a delta, I am done with the ways of those intending to be deltas. Now, Moxy, doesn't that sound familiar? Remember that scripture? And I'm going to pull it up here. When I was a child, I thought as a child.
Yep,
Think as a child, right? I reasoned as a child. But when I became a man, I put aside childish things. They twisted that whole text right here. That's what this, 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. Notice what it says. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So this is just giving you some examples. As you can see, I went in on here. It says, as I read from the pyramid book, notice what it says. The pyramid book, the founders want the Soros to admire Minerva. Mind, body, and spirit. Yes, spirit, which means we are giving her life. By what? Using their lives as collateral. All right. So I got other fraternities. I can deal with the Omega Psi-Phi and all that, but I'll stop right here. I'll open it up for questions.
You want to take a question? All right. WJ Brown. How's it going, man?
All right. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Chilling, man. We can hear you. Yeah, yo.
All right.
Blessings. Peace and blessings,
right.
WJ Brown.
Peace and blessings to you too, brother. I appreciate this powerful segment that you guys are putting on tonight. Moxy, you're a legend for this one tonight, brother. This kind of surprised me, but I love it for a Friday night.
Hey, it's Friday the 13th too.
Yeah, man, you know it. So we need it's right on time then. This is divine then. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to ask you when y'all was talking just now about the whole Kevin Samuels things, right? And I just wanted you to just listen to this perspective and tell me what I want to hear both of you guys' perspective on this, right? So when you guys were just talking about the whole Kevin Samuel thing, and I was just thinking about it, and it kind of ties into what I have been kind of pondering about as far as the music industry, how it has turned into a death culture, and how how they are disrespecting the dead they're making songs about, dissing the dead and pissing on people's graves. And, it's like, I want to ask you, is this a form of necromancy that we have come to?
Necromancy. I'm not familiar with that term.
Yeah, necro. This is dealing with the dead, right? Necromancy, this is where this involves having certain relations with the dead, right?
Or like a necrophiliac.
Yeah,
like
because
so
you have
like
necromancy. Now
yeah.
Necromancy though is summoning the dead, right? Necrophilia is having intercourse with the dead, right?
Okay.
So necromancy is kind of like summoning spirits, right? So, but you're still doing what? Summoning the dead.
Exactly.
So necrophilia, that's someone that has a fetish, so to speak, to deal with or be sexually involved with cadavers, so to speak.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just
I'll just explain to
So he's explaining it to me.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I appreciate it, because I didn't even know it was that deep. But I was just saying, is it a form of like when you're dissing the dead, and because it's almost like, to me, it almost is a fetish at this point. I mean, look at what, like you said, what Vivica Fox was saying, and how many people were celebrating a man. I've never seen anything like this in my life, where thousands and hundreds and thousands of people didn't celebrate this man's life after death. They were celebrating that he was gone and talking about this and that. So is it kind of a fetish at this point? Or I guess that might not be the correct terminology, but you know what I'm trying to get at, brother.
I encourage you, because I did a lesson on this about these behaviors on my channel about dealing with many people that are celebrating his death. And to me, I just call it straight witchcraft. Because
I was just going to say that. Is it a form of witchcraft?
Because you have many of these people that call themselves Christians. I touched on how, what's her name? Lexi. She's a gospel artist. She was big during the early 2000s, turn of the millennium, along with Mary. And she did a whole post about basically gossip. And she's promoting, celebrating that she's Zeta Phi Beta, or whatever, sorority and all kinds of stuff. But she's actually putting all kinds of gossip on her channel, basically celebrate, like basic gossip. And the scripture tells us not to be talebearers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it also tells us not
to speak the truth.
Exactly. And also, let's just say, if everyone, like the common consensus, believed that Kevin Samuels was not right, he died not getting it right with the Most High. The scripture tells us in 2nd Ezra, it tells us that, guess what? When someone dies that don't know him, right? Even though we may do a 7-day mourning over the person, but the family members that still live, they're mourning for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Because of their loved one did not die right with the Most High.
Correct.
You see where I'm going at with this? So
yeah, it's completely different. They it's like they took it from like what you're saying will be on the right spectrum, and they just took it all the way to the left. You know what I'm saying? So
that's why you saying. Go ahead, Moxy. I'm sorry.
I wanted to add something to this. I also look at it as just extreme disrespect. Not only I agree with everything y'all said that this is witchcraft, but I also look at it as just extreme disrespect for Black men. Because look, I can even give you a perfect example, and correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember a last time hearing of even a white man dying and getting this much disrespect from people. Even when Jeffrey Epstein died, people were damn near saying he did not kill himself. We need to find the killer. Almost to the point where it sounded like he was that people were mourning for this guy. Jeffrey Epstein.
Like they was trying to make him a martyr, Moxy.
Right. Jeffrey Epstein. So
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Rush Limbaugh.
You don't hear and Rush Limbaugh said all kinds of crazy stuff about our people.
Yeah.
None of these people that are talking, coming out of the woodworks towards Kevin Samuels, I didn't hear a peep out of them up towards Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
You don't even see Rush Limbaugh's people. You don't even see Caucasian Democrats going after Rush Limbaugh. We're the only community that does this.
Right.
That's right.
It's okay.
And it was very surprising to me that they allowed this on mainstream channels, you know, or mainstream talking about it like this. And they were talking about it like this until Dennis Sperling, the family attorney, started talking about suing people. Then you saw them pulling posts downs, and I think there was one, might be Hot 97 or something like that. They actually had a tribute to him after that. But
yeah, the girl that he was with, I forgot her name, but she actually went dark on her account because she was getting so much, I mean, I guess death threats and different things, and I guess it was just too much, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it was a very sad situation. I heard today that she was going around charging $5,000 for an interview with her. So
man, well, hey, whoa. It's crazy out here, bro. But
yeah,
I had one more thing I wanted to speak about is, you know, I appreciate you too, brother, again for the Wheat Woke Now, because you know, a few years ago I was around, you know, a lot of them guys with the M, you know, with the Mason and all that stuff, and I was getting ready to take the walk, but God had stepped in. He intervened, you know, he intervened in a way that I didn't like, but after everything was said and done, he let me know it was him, you know, talking to me at that time. Because before, you know, I was listening to everything they were saying, do, and I started hearing this other voice talk. Now, before I even started dealing with them, right, I used to always talk to God, like clearly, just like vividly, and like not like dead crazy stuff where they talk about, oh, it's only you just talking to yourself. Nah, brother, I know when I'm talking to myself, and I know when I'm talking to him, to you know what I'm saying, to the source. And then when I started talking with these guys and I started listening to them, they, you know, start saying this when you pray and do this when you know what I'm saying? So after a while, like one day, right, I got deep into it. I said, I'm going to do exactly what they said do, right? So I heard this voice, and it was a voice that I never heard before. And I know it wasn't the source. I knew it was the other guy. You know what I'm saying? So everything you talk about is very real, bro. And I can go into a lot of stuff, like with experiences I'd have had will blow people's brains, and they probably wouldn't believe it. But either way, just to give a little bit of my experience. But yeah, man, I had got into it, and I heard another voice, and I knew, like I said, I knew that wasn't the guy I was talking to before. I knew it wasn't, you know, the guy, the real guy. It was the lesser God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So great topic what you guys got tonight. But I want to, just before I go, if you can, I know it's not really on topic, but can you speak a little bit on Black Lives Matter and how Patrice Cullors and the other ones, they believe in that, I think it's called Odu Ifa. Do you know about that? Oh, do you know what they believe in? The Odu Ifa?
Actually,
how do you say it?
I forgot the name of let me see. I did a presentation on that. I can't remember the name of the deity.
But it's like the 13 points of possession.
Yeah, but it's a Yoruba or Yoruba rather, excuse me, deity, because even Beyonce sang towards Oshun.
Yeah.
Right? Oshun. Right. And this is one of the things that they're using sororities on college campus. They're using sororities to recruit our sisters into the worship of Oshun. Right. And that's who they're ultimately worshiping, which is a tree goddess. Right. And,
wow.
What I did on that video that I did, if you go on the playlist, right, and you'll see a playlist titled Halloween. And I believe it's either lesson number 4 or lesson number 5. I literally show clips, screen prints from Beyonce's video with her forming, with her her dancers formed a vagina in the video, showing birth coming out of it.
Wow.
Right in the face. And if you don't, if you don't pay attention to it, it could go right over your head. But being that I do a lot of research and studies, and I study symbols, and especially I used to be in the industry, so I know how to use a lot of what they call black masking or backspinning and subliminal messages in music, as Moxy alluded to earlier. It's a lot of that in the music, and it's a lot of that in the videos. So in that video, they're worshiping Oshun, and they're in that video they're giving paying homage to them as well. And Beyonce is literally talking about Oshun. She's talking about chakras and everything in that
The
video.
whole nine.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's what the Black Lives Matter. Those women, that's what they tie right into that Oshun worship. And
when I heard about that, I was like, okay, maybe this isn't about Black lives, because I'm like, if that's their, I guess, their belief system or whatever, I'm like, there's no way they can believe in that and still believe in righteousness, as far as what we was talking about, as far as police brutality and stuff like that, because it doesn't line up. It's not equally yoked. You know what I'm saying? So I figured, I knew it was something behind before she even came out the other day and and said, yeah, she did lie about this and that and that. I already had a kind of suspicion, when I found out what her true belief system was and that their foundation belief system really is about. I was like, nah, this is not about police brutality, bro.
Yeah, them Beyonce family and Jay-Z, they've always had some pretty wicked stuff going on, and they always, whenever they ask personally about it, they always seem like it's trolling. And since people believe in that stuff, they kind of trolling with it. But I never did believe that. Personally, I never did believe it was trolling. I believe, why go out of your way to troll people? And I've been hearing for years before even they started dating. I've been hearing separately about casting spells and stuff like that. Like, you hear stuff like that. You be on the set. I worked on a Rockefeller movie. Was the head PA in the Rockefeller movie, and I heard and seen a lot of stuff. But thank you, brother. You asked a lot of good questions, man.
No problem, man. I appreciate both of you guys, man. It's legendary tonight, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Anytime.
All right. Yes, sir. Blessings to both of you guys, man.
Blessings to you.
Salute.
All right.
Is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, I know I shared a lot.
Hey, man, I'm feeling it, man. Why stop? If you got something else, man, you can go ahead and do it. We'll if you have a question, we'll take a few more callers. Let him get through his presentation and wrap it up. But you still have a chance if you have a question to ask We Woke Now, Pastor Kelly. He shared a lot with us tonight about Freemasonry. A lot of things that I was taught that I didn't know. But yeah, keep going, man.
And I want to share this real quick too, because I talked about the deltas, right?
Let me switch it up.
And I want to briefly talk about the Omega Psi Phi, right? I'm going to show you how they're connected to the Kabbalah, ultimately to Freemasonry, as we talked about. I don't know, Moxy, if you remember a video, right? A viral video of these guys stepping. It was like over 200 of them, and it looked like it was a gymnasium with the women on the outside of the circle, but it was like 200 of them stepping with their pants, with their butts hanging out of their pants. Right?
I do think I remember that.
Yeah. I didn't put that in here because you know what I mean. I wanted to make sure that it doesn't get flagged or anything like that. But yeah, they're stepping, exposing their back end, their rear ends, and this is some of the things that goes on in that's promoted by these fraternities and sororities. And when you ultimately from Freemasonry, it's a lot of perversions. Many use these secret societies to push their agendas of perversions, right? And so just a little bit on Omega Psi Phi, right? And apologies for having the symbol on top of this, but you can still see it, right? But notice what it says here. Whence come ye, my friends, clothed as ye be, and accompanied by these my true and tried brothers, neophyte, commandant. It goes on to say, from the outer chamber of darkness into the what? Shekinah is right in the back. Is Shekinah. In the Israeli language they will pronounce it Shekinah. But I want to make it clear that word Shekinah or Shekinah or Shekinah, that's not an ancient Hebrew term. You will not find that term inside the Bible whatsoever, the ancient text, right? So anyway, that comes from Jewish mysticism, Judaism, right? So into the Shekinah or Shekinah or Shekinah of light of Omega. So that's a dead giveaway. That's Shekinah or that's Shekinah. So what is the Shekinah, right? Remember earlier, Moxy, when I talked to you about that 10 Sephira, that diagram?
Yes.
This is a sample of that diagram. This is the bottom portion of it. You know, I'm a geek, right? So, you know, I have to cover my bases when it comes to when I mention something. I like to have the illustration, the visuals. So this is the bottom portion that of this diagram. In every mystical system, you'll see this diagram, right? So this portion right here, this is what they call the torso. This right here is what I pointed out is the male reproductive organ, which is called the foundation, right? And then this last portion right here is what is called the Shekinah or Shekinah or Shekinah. You guys heard it in church. You heard Juanita Bynum. You heard, what's her name? Martha Menizzi and all these people singing Shekinah glory and, you know, all these different things. They are pushing Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, and they have no clue. So as you can see here, this is supposed to be the Ein Sof or the 10 Sephira, which says that the Most High is a hermaphrodite. They teach Adam was a hermaphrodite. It's in the Mishnah, right? So the male reproductive organ, which is the phallus, they call it the foundation. The female reproductive side of it is called the Shekinah. And this is all mysticism, right? So that's why you see in their ritual, going back to here, let me go back one. Going back here, right? Notice what they say, from the outer chamber of darkness into the Shekinah light of the Omega. Let me see if I can put that in the back so that way the people can see it clearly. Let me go down some because I want the people to really see that. Let's see here. All right, there we go. Let me put that in the back here. Pull this to the front.
Hey, it's 170, y'all. If you haven't done it yet, please hit that like button. It's totally free.
All right, there we go. Just so that way you guys can see the name there, because I want to make sure you see it. The source is right here, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Incorporated, 1914. The Ritual, right? This book from, it was published in 1931, page 22, right? And if you go to the 1970 updated publishing of, or edition rather, of this book, it'll be page 20. But again, into the Shekinah or Shekinah light of Omega. And let me break down a little bit more. Let me fast forward here, right? Notice what it says here again. Neophyte commandment. It says, shall make the following statement. Friend, the Apostle Paul said to the young man he was training, Timothy, endure hardness as a good soldier. Notice how they incorporate scripture to try to mesh it in with what they're doing, this whole organization, right? Then it goes on to say, every son of Omega shall be encouraged, right? So just a little history of that Omega symbol. The Omega is the Hinduism symbol called the horseshoe Yanni, which is also referred to as the pearly gate, right? Yanni is the representation of the female genitalia, representing the Hindu goddess Shakti, right? And this is Shakti right here. Y'all see that symbol on Starbucks?
Yes,
right?
I was just at Starbucks today.
Yeah, that's Shakti that you see there, right? So the symbol was also called the Great O or Am of Hindu temples. In other words, the Great Mother or woman, just as Phalega was the phallus. So the phallic image is called the Ligam Yani. So the Ligam is the male reproductive organ. The Yani is the female reproductive organ. And guess what? You'll see these in the altars in India. And so many of our brothers and sisters are caught up in Hinduism. You know, when you say, when you start making reference to karma, that's Hinduism.
Yeah.
Right? So the genital focus of her divine energy, the yantra was adorned as a geometrical symbol. The ceremony of baptismal, notice what we're talking about, the baptismal, in other words, rebirth, also involved being drawn through a giant yoni. And this is an image right here of the giant yoni, right? Which is the female reproductive organ, almost look like a fish. They'll pass their children through that yanni, right?
That looks like the bottom or the top of an ankh also.
Yeah, but if you see, if you put and I'm not trying to get graphic, I think I have an image up here, and you'll see why this looks like, if you look at it closely, it looks like a female reproductive organ.
Yeah, I do see it. Okay, I can see it. I see that.
Yeah, so that's why they call it being twice born. So this is that yanni, right? You see that symbol? Many are making this symbol. Some have flipped their hands in reverse, forming that pyramid, forming that yanni, that delta, right? So you have different types of yanni. You have the female delta, you have the double pointed oval, you have the pearly gates, the horseshoe yanni that we saw on Beyonce's mother, and then you have the fish yanni. But you see how it still forms the reproductive organ. Each one of them kind of resembles that.
I see.
Right?
And that's what Jay-Z always doing, that little rock symbol. That's
exactly
Jay-Z rock symbol right there.
Exactly. And remember, for a long period of time in the mid from I want to say around 2005 to about 2012, you had all the entertainers like the NBA, like LeBron James, all of them were doing this symbol.
Yep. They were saying, trying to say it's the rock.
Yeah. So family, this stuff is all around us. And this is where we have to, man, we got to really turn on our discernment to make sure we see everything. I mean, really pay attention to the things that we see today. Right. And I'm looking for any other things that I want to share. I mean, like I said, as you can see, this is a large presentation. We'll stop right here. We have, maybe we can schedule a part 2 of this. If everyone's interested in it, we do a part 2 of this and I can share more information.
Hey, hit that number 2 in the comment section if y'all want a part 2 to this. Hit that number 2. Here, let me take this. I will also give y'all you got about 10. I give you about 5 minutes to click that link before I take it down. Yeah, they want a part 2, man.
Okay. And I want to say peace and blessings to my buddy Jay Highstyle. I see him inside the chat. Peace and blessings to you, Jay Highstyle. Reach out to me tomorrow. I know we haven't talked in a little bit. I see my sister Carol in the building. So, but again, appreciate you, Moxy, for opening up this door, opening up your platform to do this collab.
Oh man, no. Thank you, man. I really appreciate this, man. This was as exciting as I hoped it to be. A lot of questions that I had about Freemasonry. I didn't know none of this stuff about half the stuff about Freemasonry. Some of it I did know from just a guy trying to get me involved in this a while ago, but you shed a whole different light on this. And yeah, I think this is the second time. I think it's the second or the third time we've done a collab.
This is the third time. We did it twice. This is the second time on your
Yeah, and every time, man. Oh, they still putting 2s in there. So we gotta save this for part 2, man. Save this for part 2. Oh, Southern Gotti, can you share We Woke Now link to his channel, man? Let's get to this. Hey, go sub. Here we go. Pastor Kelly, go sub to him. He has a fire page. Definitely one of my favorite YouTube pages. He's been growing a lot lately. I've been seeing it myself. I've learned a lot. Sometimes I want to come on there and talk to you sometimes, but I'll be in the middle of New York, the train, but I still try to listen to that signal go out. Then I pick it right back up as soon as I get off, man. But I definitely a big fan. This brother's page. And I love it every time you come on here, man. They still putting 2s in there. I like that.
Well, thank you again, my brother. You know how we do. Anytime, man. Anytime you need me back on, or anytime you schedule a part 2, let me know. We'll pick up where we left off at, and I'll share some additional information with the Freemasons. I'll share with some other stuff. I'm not going to let the cat out the bag. I'll share some additional eye-popping things that I know will really, catch some of the viewers off guard and not even know that it's tying right into Freemasonry.
We're going to do it another Friday on this channel, on this month. We're going to do it. So it's only like 2 or 3 Fridays left in this month. So it's going to be one of these Fridays. I like this whole Friday vibe. Here we go. There goes link right there. Here goes whole link right there. So, all right, I took down the panel. I appreciate y'all who came on here and had some questions. Hold on, I'm gonna close it out. Chill for 1 second, Pastor Kelly. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. Yes, I appreciate y'all. Hold on, let me real quick. Oh, let me do it like this. Let me do it like this. Share Chrome tab. We woke now. Here's this page right here. Y'all make sure y'all go and sub. A lot of wonderful information for us. And y'all know we talk about mostly FBA 80 stuff over here. So here you go. Y'all make sure y'all go check his page out. Make sure y'all sub. When he do his lives, tell him what's up. Tell him Moxy sent you. I appreciate it if y'all did that. So hold on. I gotta end this right. Got to end this right. Yeah, now I'm getting these little texts. You're too late. Here we go. Yeah. So this was as exciting as I thought it was gonna be. Man, he dropped a lot of knowledge. Now y'all know. Y'all see, I got that thumbnail like this. It's The Rock. Now y'all know where The Rock came from. Hey, this is a great stream. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. It's totally free. You had a lot of knowledge today. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody that came on here, asked questions, respectful. Oh, Miss D, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Hey, I try to mix it up for y'all, but I never try to come boring or whack. You know what I mean? Any of these collabs, I am looking to collab with more folks. I got some other people who I've been talking to behind the scenes. Some of them you may know about, some of them you may not heard of, but anybody I bring on here with a collab moving forward, trust me, they're gonna be fire. I'm even thinking about getting some of my comedic friends that's been making their Netflix debuts, and been thinking about getting them on here. So you're gonna see more collabs on here. You know, I'm not a stingy guy. Y'all know I can carry a live by myself, but I also like to put some other folks who are very talented on my platform too. That's the way it's supposed to go. I hope y'all enjoy this. I won't take this down. I may put a piece of this up, but I will not be taking this live down. This is for y'all to enjoy it. Do I have any free? Oh, I will tell you this. I have one Freemason story myself. I told y'all earlier that my brother is a Freemason. So I have a quick story. My brother, he's in Atlanta. I went and worked with him in Atlanta one summer when I was younger. And he brought a pretty broken down car. We called them hoopties in Cali. Bucket. He had a bucket. Car was breaking down every other day. And the job that we were at in construction, it's about a good 40 minutes from the apartment. So we went to this job, and on the way back, after work, the car broke down in the middle of nowhere. All right. He's trying to fix it, couldn't fix it, got late. You know, men be having their egos and all that. I guess he didn't want to seem all tore down in front of his much younger brother. The middle of nowhere, Georgia. After a while, he said, man, I can't fix this. We just gonna have to leave and come back, right? So went on the side of the road, tried to wave his hand for somebody to stop, right? Nobody was stopping. After about 5 minutes, He said, man, I'm not about to sit here and wait. Turned and looked at me like, am I seeing what's going on? Of course I'm seeing what's going on. Then this dude did some type of move. Next car that came, pulled right on over, right? Said, where do you want to go? Offered these guys money and all of that. Started talking all weird and stuff like that. Didn't take no money. I'm gonna never forget this, and took us all the way home. Later on, I come to find out that probably was some type of Freemason gesture. Well, anyways, y'all know how we like to end our videos over here at Moxy Approved, right? With that water. Oh, wait, my fault. I didn't know you had it. Y'all know how we like to end our videos over here at Moxy Approved, right? With that water. I see y'all here next time at Moxy Approved. Hit that like button on the way out.